Okay. We are women. We're in our series, and of course it's been interesting so far. I don't know how long we're going to go with it, but this will be a two-parter. Today we're going to be discussing our candidate for Wicked Women today. She is the bad to the bone wicked woman in the Bible. She has a category all by herself, and her name is Delilah. Delilah. What will Delilah do to you? What Delilah does to people is Delilah lures people in to trusting her and you to trust her. And you to trust her and her to trust, thinks you trust her. You got it. And what she does is she lures you into loving her and you think she loves you, but Delilah doesn't love anyone. Because what Delilah will do with every person is use you for greed, her personal greed. And then what she'll do is you'll be so comfortable in her presence, and as it were, you'll lay your head in her lap, and she'll put you to sleep, where she will emasculate your spiritual power. She will gouge out your vision for your life. She will cause you to be subdued and turn you over to enemies who will mock you. And you will become a mockery, and in your process of attempting to get it all back, you die. Delilah is deadly. So let me set it up for you today. We'll go maybe 30 minutes or so today, and then we'll finish it up the next time. Let me set it up. It was a time in the people of God's history where they needed a strong leader. They were being oppressed by their ancient enemies, the Philistines. And we all have ancient enemies, and we all have Philistines in our lives. And so what God was going to do was raise up a strong leader. But he didn't have one. So there's a woman who is barren, and she's working in the field. And the Lord sends to her the angel of the Lord. So let me read to you what the angel of the Lord said to this barren woman. The angel of the Lord appeared to her and said, "You are sterile and childless, but you are going to conceive and have a son." Now watch. "Now see to it that you drink no wine or other fermented drink, and that you do not eat anything unclean, because you will conceive and give birth to a son. No razor may be used on his head, because the boy is to be a Nazarite, set apart to God from birth, and he will begin the deliverance of Israel from the hands of the Philistines." Now, this is the supernatural birth of Samson. But you and I, if we're Christ followers, we've had a supernatural birth as well. And we have been given the Spirit of God, like Samson, and we've been given supernatural powers, gifts of the Spirit of God. But what I want you to know is that you're being supernaturally birthed, and that your supernatural powers will not stop you from encountering Delilah. And Delilah is deadly. Now, what I wanted you to notice as I was reading that passage is that it was the woman, it was the mother who was not to eat or drink, not to drink wine, not to eat anything that was unclean, not the child. The child's part was to never get a haircut, never. Have you ever thought about that? I was thinking about that. How long would your hair be if you never ever got a haircut right now? Well, I did some questioning and did some research on it, and your hair will grow from 0.375 inches to a half inch every month. That's you're in there somewhere. Now, if using the lowest one, 0.375, me, if I did that one today, my hair would be over 24 feet long. How would that look if I had hair? Now this is interesting. What's the point here? What's the haircut thing about? Well, see, you are to grow in your strength. The strength that God has given you. You're to grow in it every day, every week, every month, every year. It should get bigger and more of it, and bigger and more of it, all through your life. But it was the woman. So what she did, it was a woman who couldn't do the wine thing. So she goes home and she tells her husband. Now she's out in the field working, he's at home. I don't understand, but anyway, she goes home and she finds her husband and she tells him that the angel of the Lord came to her. And he said, oh, no. And he did. So he wasn't real sure of this thing, so he prayed to ask the Lord if this was true, that the angel of the Lord would come again and give them more information, but that he would be able to encounter this angel of the Lord as well. Well, God honored it. God gave it to him. He sent the angel of the Lord again. So let me show you now what he says to Samson's father. It's Judges 13:12. So Manoah asked him, the angel, when your words are fulfilled, what is to be the rule for the boy's life and work? And the angel of the Lord answered, your wife must do all I have told her. She must not eat anything that comes from the grapevine, nor drink any wine or other fermented drink, nor eat anything unclean. She must do everything I have commanded her to do. Now, this is just great pregnancy, directions and guidelines anyway. But this whole thing of Samson was contingent upon this woman honoring God and doing what God had told her to do. The whole thing. But it was the woman who was forbidden to eat, to drink wine or eat anything that was unclean. Not the boy. The boy's part is the haircut. Now, in Numbers 6, and I know you've heard this about Samson, that Samson violated the Nazirite vow because of he drank wine and all the unclean things he did. No, let me help you here. You can understand a little bit. In Numbers chapter 6, where God gives the Nazirite vow thing, there are three primary regulations with a Nazirite vow. The first one is no wine. You can't even eat raisins. You can't eat grapes. Nothing off the vine. That's the first thing of the Nazirite vow. And the second thing of the Nazirite vow is the no haircut rule. And while you're doing this vow, and nobody that I know of in the scriptures did a Nazirite vow for their whole life but Samson. Most of the time it was whatever, maybe a month, 2 months, or something like that. But Samson's thing is for his whole life. And the third thing is you cannot be around dead bodies. Any dead body defiles the whole Nazirite vow issue. And it's very, very strict. Even if somebody drops dead in front of you, that violates the whole Nazirite vow. And you got to do a whole bunch of stuff to clean it all up and get started with it and into it again. And even if your parents were to die while you're doing this Nazirite vow thing, you can't go to see them. You can't go to the funeral. You can't be around them. You can't mourn over them because of the Nazirite vow thing. It's a very, very strict thing. Now, in Samson's situation, God altered this Nazirite vow. God changed the Nazirite vow just for Samson. Yeah. And I want you to hold on to that particular thought. See, Samson's destiny included a lot of dead bodies. Over 1,000. And in Samson's future was a lot of wine. He was a party animal. He loved the wine and he loved the women. And neither of those took away the Spirit of God from him, and neither of those took away his strength. But that hair thing, that haircut thing, that was major with Samson. Samson had to keep that hair. That was the thing that Samson was supposed to do. The one thing that Samson was supposed to do was never get his hair cut. I just want you to hold on to that, because here's the point that I want you to see. You see, what God's done in your life and in my life is he's given us something to do. And the way he's told you to do it and instruct you to do it is different from the way he's told me to do it and instructed me to do it. See, Samson didn't have to do the Nazirite vow like everybody else. Samson has his own purpose and his own plan in life. And so do you. And so do I. And God didn't tell you to do what he's told me to do. And he didn't tell me to do what he's told. He didn't do that. So we've got our own deal. Now, here's the thing. This is major. It's major. See, it's all contingent on you honoring and doing what God said to do. It's all about that. You'll never fulfill your plan in life. You're never going to have what you want to have in life if you don't honor God and do what God has told you to do. What has God told you to do? Are you faithful with what you know you're supposed to be doing? because you're never going to have what you want to have unless you do. Now, Mrs. Manoah honored God by doing everything that the angel told her to do. She birthed a son. She birthed a child. She was barren. She was sterile. But because she honored God, and this is how it always works, if we honor God by doing what God's told us to do and by doing what we know we're supposed to do, then God honors us. Now, the way God honors us is by giving us what we desire in our heart. She wanted a baby. She wanted a child. And she got it because she honored God. What is it in your life that is barren? What is it in your life that is sterile? What is it that you so want to produce, that you so want to enjoy, that you so want to birth? Well, are you honoring God? It always works this way. We honor God, God honors us. And we get the benefits of it. We live the life. We birth forth what we so desire to birth in our lives. Now, Samson. Samson, his supernatural exploits were superhero legendary. When the Spirit of God came upon Samson, he would get this Hulk-like strength. But what a lot of folks don't know is that not only did he get a Hulk-like strength when the Spirit of God came on him, he got a Hulk-like rage. And he would go berserk. He would just kill everything around. One time a lion, and this lion event set off a series of all of Samson's major exploits and superhuman exploits that he did. One time a lion attacked him, and he tore the lion apart with his bare hands and just threw him over there in the woods. Later, he's going to marry a Philistine woman, which is a no-no, but he's doing it. He's going to marry her, and he goes off into the woods to see the carcass of this lion. And this lion's carcass has become a honeybee hive. So he's going to marry, and evidently this was the way they did the marriages. This was the rituals of the day. He did a riddle. He did a riddle. And he had 30 men that was going to be in his marriage party, in his marriage company. And so he says, I'm going to give you a riddle. And if you solve my riddle, it's about this lion and honey thing. If you solve my riddle, then I will give you 30 wardrobes. I'll give you each a wardrobe. But if you can't solve the riddle, then what you're going to do is you're going to give me, each one of you are going to give me a wardrobe of clothes. And so they agreed to this. Okay, this is the thing. So they had 7 days or so, the whole marriage feast thing, to solve the riddle. But they couldn't do it. So they threatened his to-be wife with the death of her parents if she did not badger Samson and get from him the answer to the riddle. So she did. And she told the 30 who had made the wager with Samson. And Samson finds out about it, and he says, you couldn't have solved my riddle had you not plowed my woman. So he knew how they got it. But so what he does is the Spirit of God comes up, this rage thing takes over. And he goes and he kills 30 men and takes their wardrobe, 30 Philistine men, and takes their wardrobe to pay the riddle debt, the riddle wager debt. And this are the kinds of things that happened with Samson. When the Spirit of God came upon him, this rage came out of him. And so he's going down, he's going to see his should-be wife, and finds out that his father-in-law, her father, has given her away to one of Samson's friends. Spirit of rage, the Hulk thing happens. He takes it out on 300 foxes. He ties them together, lights their tails on fire, and they go running all through the fields of the Philistines, burning their grain fields up, which is also a slap in the face of their God. But so now the Philistines are after Samson. They're coming to get Samson. So he just knocks out a bunch of them to start with. He kills many to start with because of this rage thing that's happening with him. But then he finds a jawbone of a donkey, and he kills 1,000 Philistines with a jawbone of a donkey. Now these are some of the exploits of what he did. But what's interesting, and what I really want to try to work on here and get us to see, is that every one of Samson's supernatural escapades that he had with superhero type strength and legends behind it, every one of those are surrounding one issue, one point, one thing. And that one issue, that one point, and that one thing that all of his escapades and superhuman events surround is his weakness, his lust for women. Every one of them. Let me show you. Judges 16:1. One day, Samson went to Gaza Strip. Went to Gaza, where he saw a prostitute. He went in to spend the night with her. The people of Gaza were told, Samson is here. So they surrounded the place and lay in wait for him all night at the city gate. They made no move during the night, saying, at dawn we'll kill him. Now their plan didn't work. Samson gets up in the middle of the night after a partial night of passion with a prostitute and still has the strength after that and goes out and, they got the gates locked. They think they got Samson trapped. Locked gates, not going to stop Samson. He goes out and he snatches the gates out of the ground. I mean, he pulls up the post and everything, and he carries the gates and everything away. Now they've got to replace their gates because they fooled with Samson. But what I want you to see is, again, this escapade, this exploit of Samson, this superhuman, Superman type thing, strength that he did was around a superhuman, supernatural weakness. Women. After a whole night, or a partial night, of passion with a prostitute, Samson still had strength, but he's about to meet his Delilah. Superman is about to meet his kryptonite. Here's the thing that I wanted to communicate to you. Samson had supernatural power from the Spirit of God, but Samson had a supernatural weakness. When Samson fell into the supernatural weakness, it's going to lead him to Delilah. You and I have been given a supernatural existence. We're children of the Most High God. The Spirit of God is upon us. We have a supernatural power. Each one of us have been given a power and an ability, a talent, something supernatural that we could do. But also each one of us has a supernatural weakness. And if we give into our supernatural weakness, we're going to find Delilah. We're going to encounter Delilah. And Delilah is deadly. All right. I just want you to get this whole thing. Now, let me read the scripture because Delilah is here. Judges 16:4. Sometime later, he fell in love. He fell in love with a woman, not a prostitute, a woman. A woman in the valley of Sorek, whose name was Delilah. She is. Now, Delilah wasn't a prostitute. Delilah was a woman in Sorek. Even Samson wouldn't marry a prostitute. She was a woman in the valley of Sorek. But what a woman she must have been. I mean, just think about it, because Samson's going everywhere checking out women. He's going all over the place. Wine and women, that's his deal. He's going everywhere to check out women. But this one, he fell in love with. What do you think it was about Delilah that could capture the heart of Samson? What do you think it was? Do you think it was her compassion for people? Her love for people? Do you think it was her godliness? Her love for God? Do you think that's what it was? I don't think so. I think it was her looks, her body, and her ability to use those two things. Samson and Delilah. Now, what's extremely interesting here? See, Samson's pretty long hair gave him strength. But his pretty and long hair was no match for the wickedness of Delilah. Samson's hair and the shaving of it off was not his weakness. His weakness was women. And we all have a weakness, a supernatural weakness. And if we give in to that weakness, we follow the path of that weakness, it's going to lead us to Delilah. And your supernatural power and your supernatural abilities are no match for the wickedness of Delilah. Delilah is deadly. Read this scripture. Judges 16:5. The rulers of the Philistines went to Delilah, and said, see if you can lure him. See, we started off the thing, I told you what the first thing that Delilah will do to you is lure you into her love, lure you into her trust. Well, see if you can lure him into showing you the secret. Now watch this, the secret of his great strength. They'd come to the place to know that this wasn't natural. What Samson could do wasn't natural. There's a secret here. And how we can overpower him so we can tie him up and subdue him. Each one of us will give you 1,100 shekels of silver. Each one of us are going to give you 1,100 shekels of silver. So it was obvious to them that Delilah had this luring power. But it was also obvious to them that the strength of Samson was not natural. It was something supernatural about it. There's a secret here somewhere. And it's not. He didn't get like this. He didn't get strong like this because of his daily workout program, you know. He didn't get like this because of his diet that he maintains. He didn't get like this because he takes care of his body. He didn't get like this. There's something else. He didn't get like this because of steroid injections. There's a secret here somewhere. And they knew that Delilah, with her alluring power, could compromise Samson because of his supernatural weakness. And that because of that, they could find the secret of Samson's supernatural power. So this was the plan. Now they already knew, they wanted to know what Samson's secret was, but they already knew how to get to Delilah. Greed, money. That's Delilah is a greedful person. Every Delilah is greedful like this. They use people for their own greed. And so they knew how to get to her. Let's offer her money. Let's offer her silver. So each one of them were going to offer her 1,100 pieces or shekels of silver. Now, in Judges chapter 3, in verse 3, it says there that the Philistines had 5 rulers. So if they have 5 rulers and they're each one going to offer her, going to give her 1,100 apiece, so that's 5,500 shekels of silver that she was going to get. I did some math and research as best I could, and that works out to every one of them we're going to give her 34 pounds of silver. That's 170 total pounds of silver that they were going to give to Delilah. Now this, in that economy, is a fortune. In that economy. She would be wealthy. In Judges chapter 17, we read about a man there who worked all year for 10 shekels. 10 shekels all year long. They're going to give her 5,500 shekels of silver. I mean, this is a fortune. She'll live like a queen for the rest of her life. Queen Delilah. And I love what Liz Curtis Higgs wrote in her book on Bad Girls of the Bible. I like this. I want to read it to you. It says, before we condemn Delilah for the actions that follow, we might ask ourselves which one we would choose, Number 1, the company of a violent man with a rocky reputation and shocking track record with women, who was neither a husband nor a father, and who might disappear without a word of regret. Or, number 2, the comfort of cold, hard silver that would keep a woman well fed and finely dressed for a lifetime. Not a hard decision then or now. She didn't love Samson, but she knew that Samson loved her. And she could use her alluring powers to compromise his strength. And that's what she's going to do. Read you this verse, Judges 16:6. So Delilah said to Samson, "Tell me the secret of your great strength and how you can be tied up and subdued." Now, this is where we're going to stop today. And next time we're going to look at this. Next time we're going to, I mean, think about it. She just told him what she wanted. How did she get by with that? How can, she's not that dumb, and he's not that dumb. What are they doing? And so I want to show you next time how this works out. What does Delilah do that's so obvious but yet so successful? What does Delilah do to compromise Samson, to emasculate his supernatural strength, to subdue him, turn him over to the enemies, gouge out his vision for his life? I want to show you next time, and we'll look at it next time, how she did this. But what we'll also talk about is how he regained it. How he regained the Spirit of God. See, that's what happened. She took away the Spirit of God from his life. You'll probably be familiar with this. He rose up after the haircut, and he shook himself as before, but did not know that the Spirit of God had left him. How did she do that? We'll also see how he regained it. He got the Spirit of God back. We'll also see how he got his supernatural strength back, but died in the process, because Delilah is deadly. Have you met Delilah? Do you know a Delilah? Prayerfully, you're not a Delilah. Each one of us has had a supernatural birth, been born again. Each one of us have been given a supernatural power and ability by God to do supernatural things, to live a supernatural life, a life like no others don't live. But each one of us has a supernatural weakness. Each one of us. And if we give into it, and we follow the path of it, it leads straight to Delilah. Delilah will take away your vision. Delilah will take away the Spirit of God from your life. Delilah will bind you and mock you and turn you over to the Philistines and your enemies. And they'll make fun of you for the rest of your life, even if you die in the process. Delilah is deadly. Let me pray for us. Father, thank you for our time together. We ask you, Lord, to help us understand, Lord God. There are things that we can understand about your word. It can be a chisel in our life. It can chisel away the things that are going to take us to deadly forces and powers. Let us understand, Lord, there are things we can learn from your word that will give us strength, that we can avoid. We can avoid the Delilahs. We can avoid the Lot's wife. We can avoid the temptations that Eve went through. We can avoid these things. So, Father, I ask you to help us. Give us insights into this. Let each one of us begin to consider and ponder what we've heard today and consider Delilah so that we can avoid her.